Okay, how you doing? Welcome. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to spend with me. Happy Monday, Motivation Money Making Monday. What's going on with you? Hey, 3 times triple X. What's going on with you? Thanks so much for stopping in. I greatly appreciate those royal blue hearts. To all my replay viewers, thanks for being a part of my space, coming in, tapping that screen, showing your love. Welcome, Poodle 45. How you doing today? Happy Motivation Monday, Money Making Monday. It is a fabulous day. I pray that you've had a magnificent start to the second quarter of 2017. And if you have not made any money yet, if you have not progressed yet, if you have not done something different than you did from the first quarter and you still getting the same results, we got to switch it up a little bit and try something different. Yes, my name is Nichelle and I'm with 2excelwithnichelle.com. I greatly appreciate each and every one of you being here. So today we're going to talk about real estate. Why are we talking about real estate? This is something that I've been doing personally for 25 years. It is one of my businesses that I own. I really enjoy. Hey, how you doing, Dr. Walter Sims? Welcome. Thank you for being here. It's really something that I enjoy doing. I'm not going to say everybody deserves to be a homeowner, but I'm going to say that these are some things that I'm going to share with you today. Hey, Seeds of Deliverance, that you need to be aware of if you are renting a space and you are thinking about buying a home in the near future. It's imperative that you know these things because we landlords, we want you to know this stuff. We wish you knew this. And that's why I'm sharing it with you today. So this information is going to be quite valuable. If you know someone, just swipe to the left, swipe to the right, up and down. Hey, Amber, how are you? Welcome. Thank you so much for being here. And share this information with somebody else, because if you don't know somebody that's buying a house, somebody else knows somebody that's buying a house, and somebody else knows somebody else that's renting. So I promise you this information is valuable, maybe not just to you, but to someone else as well. Thank you for sharing, Amber. Technical difficulties. Oh my God, I hope it's not on my end, because I'm like in a little country area here and it kind of goes in and out. Oh my gosh, I always miss you. Oh, Amber, I have not been on Periscope in actually, I think it was said 3 days. So yes, and I thank you for saying that. I miss you too, Amber. I greatly appreciate you being in my space. And thanks again, Triple X, for throwing up those little royal blue hearts. They are absolutely amazing and beautiful. I greatly appreciate you. So let's go get down to business. If you have any questions, please do not hesitate to ask. However, if you would kind of wait a little bit until I get through everything, because I promise you, I probably will answer your question while I'm going through this information. Hey, Chuck, what's going on? Chuck 47. Welcome. And so if you are renting, if you don't mind, if you just want to put up a 1 or 2, if you're not renting, you're thinking about buying a home. Real estate is one of the best investments. And as I stated earlier, I don't think everybody deserves to buy a home because you got to be financially and mentally ready. Okay, so you're renting right now, Chuck. This is some information that you need to know if you are thinking about buying a house in the future. Hey, how you doing? Hensley, Dingham, I think that's what that says. Can barely see it there. You want to buy, Amber? Again, this information is for you. Because if you are renting, when you get ready to buy, these are things that you need to know. You need to be prepared. So let's get down to number 1. And thank you guys for putting that up for me. Hey, Kerzine, how you doing today? The number 1 thing that you need to be aware of that your landlord wish you knew prior to you moving into their space, and then when you get ready to buy a home, just because we own the property, I'm going to be honest with you. Everybody that comes and calls about a piece of property, they think you're rich because you own real estate. Did you hear me? They think the landlord is rich because they're buying real estate. Lovey. Yes. Hey, Kenzie, what's going on? So the landlord isn't rich. They just have the property to rent to you so that you can have some space to stay, some place to stay. And the key thing to keep in mind here, they're not rich. And so when you call with all kinds of issues that are going on within the space that you are renting, you become a problem tenant. And so when it's time for you to leave that space and go and perhaps buy your space, that landlord is going to remember that, because every place, when you get ready to buy a home, the first thing that they want to do is check your rental history. So it behooves you to keep your rental history as clean as possible. You want your landlord to be your best friend, literally. You want them to be your best friend. So when it's time for you to move, not only do they give you a good referral, that that they have you, that you're in hindsight a good person to rent from and even to buy from, because first impressions are lasting impressions. And that's the second thing that I want to say. I've had people come to rent, even in particular today, and even we can't discriminate against by anything, race, color, creed. You cannot discriminate. It's called a protected class. But first impressions are lasting impressions. And let me just share with you an instance that happened today in the process of someone coming to rent a piece of property from someone that I work with. And I actually just leased the property out for them. I'm their property manager per se. The tenant came to the house, and their car, they came up, first of all, in a very loud car. And then second of all, when they came up, they were not dressed professionally or cleanly. Now, they could have just come from work, which was the question that was asked. Did you just come from work? And then you can accept that. But if this is how you're looking and you're coming, just like a job interview, when you're going to look for places to rent and to live, you don't want to come in there out of your best you. Now, I'm not saying you got to be in a 5-piece suit, 3-piece suit, 4-piece suit, dressed from head to toe, your face all made up, all that stuff. I'm not saying that, but at least be presentable, because just like a job, first impressions are lasting impressions. And a landlord has the choice. They have the choice. Welcome. How you doing, Mac McCann? They have the choice whether or not they want to rent to you. Okay, they have that choice, and long as they don't discriminate against in the protected class, they're still within their realms, because no one wants anyone nasty living in their property. I mean, it's just disgusting. When I'm going in as the property manager and we're looking through houses and stuff after people move out, it is literally nasty how people are living. And so, if you come to the landlord, if you're going to buy a house when you get ready to purchase at home, and if your first impression is very disgusting to the other that may turn them off from renting from you. So you want to keep in mind that first impressions are lasting impressions, even when you're buying a home, even when you're renting a home. Those things are key. And so, again, as I go back to the fact that just because the property manager owns the home or the property owner owns the home, it doesn't mean they're rich. They want you to be taking care of the property just as if it was your own. Okay. And I found over renting property over the years, people don't take care of your stuff like you do. And so when you're looking for tenants, when they're looking for tenants, when you're getting ready to buy, they want to make certain that they're going to put somebody in there that's going to take care of their property just like they would. And so the next thing that I want you to be mindful of is that we don't just want a tenant. Most landlords that I talk to, they want me to seek out a home buyer. If you're renting an apartment, they want to be able to sell you a home within the next couple of years, a year to 2 to 3 years. They really want long-term tenants, but they want to be able to sell something to you. So if you come and your credit is not necessarily that good, and I'm seeing right now, tax time. I put in my little message there, tax time. People are getting their taxes back now. And so I'm seeing a surge in people coming in want to rent. I'm seeing a surge in people coming to want to buy. And when you're talking about a tenant for a future homeowner, your credit score still matters. It's very difficult to rent in some places. Now, some places just let you in regardless of what's going on. I don't want to call them slumlords. Sometimes they are, but they just rent to anybody that comes in there. But most respectable places that most people will want to live in, a clean environment, a nice environment, they're going to do your credit background check. And it's so key that you try to make certain that if your credit is not up to par, that they want somebody who is in a building process. They don't want someone who's consistently late on bills, credit card bills, car notes. They pay attention to that. And one thing that we do within our agency, we check utility bills too. If you've been late on your utility bills, you're probably going to get in our units and be late too. And what that causes is a problem for us, because we've seen people leave the unit and they still owe utility bills. And depending on where you live, a lot of utility companies won't even turn that utility bill on until that person pays their bill. So no one can move into that apartment. And what happens, or that house, what happens is the owner gets stuck with that. So that's really a disadvantage. And that's why we make certain that you are paying your current utility bills on. It can't be in your sister's name, your son's name, your daughter's name. We do see that as well, because that's a red flag immediately, because for number one, you're dishonest. And then if you're putting your utilities in your children's name, then that's not right at all. That's illegal. You messing that child's credit up before they even get of age to even know what credit is. And so we pay attention to that. So I see it all the time, Amber. Yes, I see it all the time. And it really is sad, because that's a disadvantage for that child that child did not ask for. And then keep in mind, once your child gets older and that stuff is on their credit report, they can prosecute you. Okay. Depending on, in a court of law, they can prosecute their parents or whomever put their information in there for distorting their credit history. That is a felony. I mean, that's theft. You're using somebody else's social security number to maintain your livelihood or your existence. And it happens all the time. I see it on a regular basis. And, I just quickly let them know this is something that we cannot, have within our agency. The owner does not approve of this. And then we just move on. And I just advise them, look, you might want to get that stuff straight, especially if you're going to buy a house sometime near in the future. So keep that in mind as well. We don't just want a tenant. We want a homeowner. The next thing that I want you to be mindful of, oftentimes when people are bringing their credit, their money to pay for their credit report and all of that stuff, they're like, why are they getting all in my business? Well, if you are renting property from someone, if you are buying a home, your business is the bank's business. Your business is that landlord's business. We want to know everything that has happened, in your past, so that we can predict the future. Now, hear me again. We want to know what happened in your past so we can predict the future. Now, I've seen situations where people have come in to buy a home, to rent or whatever, and maybe 5 years ago they had, lost a job. Things happen. You need to be able to explain that. And I always suggest to my clients, especially if they're in the process of buying, I explain to them, you're going to have to write this out and explain why you fell behind on your car note. You're going to have to write this out and explain why you fell behind on your Macy's credit card. Why is it our business? Because we are leasing the property to you. The bank is loaning you the money. So it is their business. Your business is their business. And if you're not up to date with your business, if you don't pay attention to your business, then you are not a good tenant for the owner, landlord, nor are you a good tenant for the bank. Back in the day, I remember probably like maybe 7-8 years ago, we used to lend our properties to people, or give mortgages to people with like 500 credit scores, 400 credit scores, no more. That's why we had that meltdown in America where everybody was upside down on their mortgage, or if they weren't upside down, they owned too much house and they couldn't afford it. And I recommend that to people all the time. Even if you're renting, don't be rent rich and poor. Don't be house rich and poor. Why? Because what you're going to find out is your debt to income, your DTI is going to be off whack. It's going to be hard for you to do anything else. And then it's going to get hard for you to pay those utility bills over time. And if you know anything about your utility companies, they will cut your stuff off. They don't care if you $5 behind. I've been there where I only owe the utility company $5 and they cut my stuff off. They don't care. They want their money. And so you got to be mindful that you cannot be rent rich, living in the most exclusive place if your finances don't allow you to do that. A lot of times now, even more so, mortgage companies are very, very particular about who they lend to. They want to make sure that all your ducks are lined up, that your credit, that you've been paying, your rental. That's another thing I want to remind you of. Landlords, don't pay with cash. Don't pay with cash. Most of the time, we don't want cash anyway. Why would you pay with cash? The first thing, if you're going to have proof that you paid them, cash is not proof. Because unless they give you the receipt, which most people end up losing their receipts for whatever, cash is not documentable. If you write a check, you can document a check being cash based upon the number, the routing, and all that stuff per the bank. So I advise my clients, never give your landlord cash. Always give them a check or a money order, something that you personally can trace if you need to. If they say you've never paid. Run into a lot of slumlords and they'll say, the tenant never paid the rent. Well, I've had tenants to come to us and they have 12 months of paid rental receipts, and that landlord lied. So you protect yourself by keeping good records as a renter, so when it's time for you to buy, that you're prepared. And you also need to keep your records good as a renter, just in case you perhaps get with a slumlord and they don't take care of their property or their business. You can have documented proof when it's time for you to move into something else, because we we always go back and check your previous rental history. It's so key and so important. And if you don't have any, that's even harder. I know people that rent without people having rental history. What I find from them, they end up coming to us as property management because for the simple reason that person has bamboozled them. They left and didn't pay the rent, all kind of stuff. Protect yourself so that you don't get caught up in that situation. And the last thing that I want to share with you is that you really, really need to be mindful about communication. I don't care what business that you're in, and more so even when you're talking about business like real estate, you want to make certain that you communicate. Now, I have people that I work with. If people are not able to pay their rent, as long as they communicate with them and give them a sufficient day to suffice for them being behind, they're willing to work with them. But if you just go on and don't ask, don't communicate with the landlord and you never pay them, that again goes back to that first impression that the landlord is not rich. We have to pay that mortgage just like you need to pay us to pay that mortgage. So it's really key to communicate, to make them aware in advance that you can't pay it. Even with mortgages, I tell people all the time, it doesn't, if you get behind on your mortgage, the number one reason is because people don't communicate. If you pick up that phone and call the lender and make them aware that you've had a life shift or adjustment, there are so many advantages for you doing that. And I work with my clients to help get them through that hurdle as well, because, life happens. We lose jobs. Even when you're staying in an apartment renting it, we lose jobs, we lose income, our income is reduced sometimes, and so things happen. However, communication is so key, because if you make them aware in advance that this instant is going to happen, if you have some type of acknowledgement of something happening in the future where you're not able to pay your rent or your mortgage, just pick up the phone and call them, and they're more than likely willing to help you because they appreciate the open communication line versus you not communicating with them at all. And so those are the couple of things that I wanted to share with you about renting here. You're welcome, Chuck. Thank you so much. And I want to share with you guys, I have a little thing here that I want to share. What if you are paying cash to buy a house, or there's still ways we can be denied? Cash is king. Cash is king, Amber. And I'm going to tell you why it's king when you buying a house. How you doing, Gardner Bread? When you're buying a house, cash is king because the mortgage company will rather give cash than to get a mortgage. Okay, give me that one more time, Triple X. Let me answer her question real quick. The mortgage company will rather you give them cash than to lend money to you. Yes. You want to know why? They want that for the simple reason because they don't have to have debt tied to it. If you got cash and come in, that's a good thing. But guess what, Amber? That cash has to be traceable. It just can't pop up in your account one day. You got to be able to trace it. Why? Because there's so much fraudulent activity going on. Let me answer that in 1 second. Real estate options. There's so much fraudulent activity going on that if they just see cash pop up in your account, then they're going to investigate that, and you don't want that. So you want to have, like, if you get it out of your 401k, you want to have that documented out of your 401k that's where you receive the money. So those are things that you need to be mindful of. But mortgage companies love cash. I do tons of cash deals on a regular basis. Even right now, with it being tax season, people are using their, I had someone buy a house the other day for $10,000 cash. They paid strictly cash for it. They had saved up their money, got their taxes, and then they came and they put the money down and bought it. It was a quick close, which I like. Most realtors like quick closes because we can get the get the owner in and out. So don't pay so much on your house that you have to constantly work and can't enjoy your home. Exactly, Triple X. I tell people that all the time. Don't be house rich and poor. Get something that you can maintain. And I always advise people, if you are interested in getting in investing, get a house that you can fix up and repair. Then you can sell and get the equity in it. And then you can turn around and sell it and get you something bigger, nicer, and better. Buying a home is a progressive act. You don't want to just run in and get too much, and then later on you find that you can't afford it, because things have changed. As I mentioned, back in the day, they used to give you more than what you can afford. Now banks are really crucial, looking in on what people can afford so that they don't get upside down or end up in foreclosure later on, because the bank don't want your house. The bank don't want it at all. I have an apartment complex right now that I'm putting up for owning for somebody to buy, because the owner of the property, he just went out and bought tons of property. And at this time, he can no longer afford this piece of property that he has. He has is part rented, some of it is rented and some of it's not, but it needs so much work, and his ultimate goal was to go in there and do the work, but he found himself cash strapped. And unfortunately, in real estate, that happens a lot, especially if you buy too much and you can't afford it. How you doing, Gonzalez? What's going on? So, Triple X, I apologize, I didn't see your question. If you want to put that back up again. Someone asked with real estate options. I think that's a great choice, but not for everybody. One thing that you want to be mindful of with real estate options, you may be paying more for the house than it's worth. You may be paying more for the house than it's worth. But if you find that that's a house that you love, it's something that you want to live in, you're excited about the neighborhood, and you can see yourself there 5 to 7 years from now, then the option may be good. I even suggest to people, don't even buy a house if you're not going to stay there 5 to 7 years. Why? Because you're not going to get any equity in it. And things happen. I've had people to move into houses. The next thing I know that they're getting transferred from their job. Most of the time, the employer takes up that slack and buys the house from you. So that's a little different. But if you're just going to stay there, 2-3 years, and then you're going to decide to move, that's not a wise investment. The only time you should buy a house literally is if you're going to stay there 5 to 7 years, because then you can see a return on your investment. And so with the option, and like I said, if it's a good neighborhood, that's where you want to be. This is where you want to be, because it's going to take at least a year for the option to execute, unless you have something different in there. Yes, return on investment. You want to make certain that you get that ROI. So unless you have an option that's perhaps maybe 6 months or a year, it's going to take time for it to activate itself, and before you're able to turn around and purchase the home. And so really it just depends on you, your goals, your objectives when buying a home. And if it's something that you are willing to wait, and that's the house that you really love and you want to stay there. So any other questions about that? Rennie, we do this every day. How do you determine if the home you're buying is priced correctly? Most of the time you have agents, and we do comps. We do comps in the area, and we get a valuation based upon how many rooms are in the house, the square footage, what houses have sold for in the area within the last couple of, mostly the last year to two. We want to make certain 6 months to a year to 2 years. We want to know what has sold, because that's how you determine if a price is overpriced. A house is overpriced. And we can quickly go in with that negotiation tactic to say this house is overpriced, and then we offer based upon the area, what we see, the square footage, the houses, the bathrooms, and the rooms in the house. That's how we base our offer. And so that's how you can get that information from your realtor. It's so key to work with a realtor. We have so much value when we're working with you. And, a lot of times you don't pay the real estate agent, the seller pays the real estate agent. So it's even if you're renting, unless you're going to an apartment complex, I would suggest you take a realtor with you. Now, we have brokerage fees. Now, my company, because I own my own company, we have brokerage fees that we charge in advance, but it's not a significant amount. It's just something to get you started in the process. But the seller ends up paying our fee. So, it's really advisable to you to do that, because we can help you through the process, the contract. Even though most in my state, we're not attorneys. In some states, attorneys do the real estate transaction. So it just really depends on where you live. But to have someone with knowledge of contractual law and things of that nature, it can really save you time in court and from losing money. I can't tell you how many clients that I've worked with that they see a FSBO for sale by owner on the street, and then they call me after they've invested their money in it to find out it was a scam. And so it's very key that you get somebody who understands the business of real estate, because if you don't, you're going to find yourself scammed too. And people scam every day in real estate. This is one business that people scam every single day. I'm finding, something happening in that regard. So, it's really, just being careful what you're doing, getting advice from a professional. And I'm looking up something right here, you guys, real quick. I always like to make people aware that just like you wouldn't go to a dentist to have a baby. Why go to someone who has never sold a home? Why go to someone that has no idea of what real estate is, who's never done it before? Even with my new agents that come into our office that work with me, I always advise them first and foremost that you need to get some help. I mean, get some understanding about the business up under your belt, because you're going to get into contact with a lot of clients that don't know what they're doing, and everybody is up for suit. You know, anybody can sue nowadays. And even in real estate, I've had people where they were not happy with the client, and then what you found out later on, you know, they had an issue with them, they didn't know how to address it. And so we make certain that we really train all of our staff effectively and efficiently when we're talking about getting real estate. So if you are a first-time home buyer and you've never purchased a home before, you can go to bit.ly 7 home buyer tips. bit.ly/7 home buyer tips. And in that information, what you're going to find out, it's a little video, and it can kind of tell you a little bit more information than what I've given you today. I've given you tons of information here. It'll go into depth and explain every little thing that you need to know as a first-time buyer going in. And you also get a little book with that, because your real estate agent is your business partner. You want to make certain that you get a real estate broker or agent that is going to help you. It's 7. Yes, 7 is the number 7. It's bit.ly 7 home buyer tips. Thank you so much, Amber, for pointing that out to me. So I put that together because, you know, I think it's so key when we're talking about buying a home that we're informed, because misinformation all the time really gets people in a lot of trouble financially. And when you're talking about buying a home, even renting, those are your biggest investments. You know, several things that we always going to need, and that's a place to stay. We're going to always need food in our stomach and transportation. And so when you're thinking about those are big investments. Buying a car, you know, a house, and even what you eat, because if you eat the wrong foods, you can end up in intensive care. To be honestly speaking with you, your food, what you eat, that's what you are. And so going back to buying a home is so key, so important that you are informed. And the more information you have, the more capable that you are to make the best decisions for you and your family, that nobody is bamboozled, and that you can take the information and you can grow from there. Real estate is a wonderful opportunity for people that are seeking investment. And then also, as I mentioned, when you're buying, you want to be informed instead of not informed. So go to bit.ly 7 home buyer tips, and you get a book to talk about real estate agents and when you're getting ready to hire one. And you also get information from a webinar that was done that will share those highlights for you. So that is my message for you today. Anybody else got any other questions about rental or home buyer information? Alrighty. Well, if you found this information valuable, if you're buying cash, is it true you can close in 2 weeks? Sometimes, yes, Amber, sometimes. It just depends. If everything is lined up, the first thing that has to be cleared is that title. If the title isn't clear, then no, you cannot close in 2 weeks. I've had people close in 5 days. I've actually had somebody close in 3 days. You know, it was a quick transaction. It was on free and clear. And once they pulled title, they found out it was on free and clear. There were no liens on it or anything, and we closed. But if you have cash, as long as title comes back free and clear, there shouldn't be any reason why you're not able to close in those 2 weeks. That's actually a long time with cash. Yes, I've seen them, like I said, close. I've closed one in 3 days, but again, that house was free and clear. Sorry for the questions. That's okay. That's what I'm here for, Amber. That's what I put up. That's what I'm talking about today. So you are you're good, girl. No problem. No problem. I'm happy and feel blessed and honored to be able to answer your questions. So, but again, go to bit.ly / 7 home buyer tips, and you can get more information as well as a book that's included to help you in the strategy process when you're hiring a real estate agent to work with you to choose the largest investment that you'll ever do, and that's buying a house. You buying a house with welfare? No, you can't buy a house with welfare. Okay, I didn't say anything about buying a house with welfare. My suggestion is, if you're on welfare, start thinking about other things that you can do to get off welfare so that you can purchase the home of your dreams. I have people that stay in homes that we rent out that are on welfare. Nothing against welfare. We all been there. Okay, we all been there at some point in our lives, but to stay on it and be under the control of the government, that's a choice. That's a choice, especially when there's so many options out there for you to get out there and make some money. There's so many options. So, but Section 8, we have property that people are on Section 8. They pay $1. I wish I could live somewhere for $1. They pay $1, and some of them are the best tenants that we have. You need your handouts. Well, to each his own. If that's what you need to survive, some people need it to survive, and then some people, right. Some people need it to survive, and then other people just do it because they want to take advantage of the system. That's another story there and another scope. So, but some people need it. They owe you for slavery. They all owe all of us for slavery, if that's the case. So that's not a handout. Okay, that's not a handout. That was work that was done for over 500 years. So don't let me go there. All right, don't let me go there. But thank you for coming in and sharing that information. All righty then. Well, thank you guys for being a part of my space. I greatly appreciate you. If you are interested in positive daily motivation and inspiration, connect with me here on Periscope. I come on like every other day, but I am daily on Instagram at Nichelle Womack. I'm also there on Twitter at Nichelle Womack, and I'm on Facebook at the Life Transition Strategist. So I love positive energy. I love positive people. If you're the negative Nancy, don't connect with me at all, okay, unless you're thinking about being converted, because I will help convert you, because I don't like negativity. I live a positive life filled with the name of Jesus in my life, and I love being happy. Why be sad? Yes. Right, Amber? Why be sad? There's too much going on in the world. You can smile every day. You get that breath, that opportunity to have a new day. All right, because somebody didn't get that opportunity. So you be blessed and favored in everything that you do. I love each and every one of you. I'm a buy a home in the hoods. Okay. You just playing. What's your name? Now, I ain't going to look fun, greed. All right. You just playing. I hope you are. I'm going to pray for you in the name of Jesus. Yes. Sprinkle all that good stuff on you. That mindset. It starts in the mind. Shake my head. Yes, Amber. It starts in the mind. Yes. Yes. So if you want to live in poverty all your life, then kudos to you. Because I only know a God that serves in prosperity. And he said that abundantly we shall live. The doors of heaven will open upon you. And yes. All right. Yes. So, all righty. Well, thanks again, everybody. I'm getting ready to head out. I thank you for your time. Be blessed and highly favored in everything that you do. And may everything that you touch, may it turn to gold. Talk to you later. Blessings and peace unto you. Bye-bye. See you later, Amber. Thank you for all the love. Greatly appreciate you and Triple X for throwing up those turquoise hearts. Is that turquoise, purple, lavender, whatever color it is? It's beautiful. Thank you. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.